Hey everybody, this is going to be a quick video on the multiplayer traps pack on the Unreal Engine Marketplace. So some people were asking about how do you get the traps to damage your player character. Well, by default they damage anything that can overlap with it. So if I walk up here and I touch this and I overlap, it kills me. But you have to double check and make sure your characters and the traps can have the correct collision settings so they can overlap. So let's hop right into it. I'm using my multiplayer zombie survival template that's also on the marketplace as an example, but you don't have to have this for the traps to work. This is just, I already had it set up. So let's see, I used the third person character for my template, and you just want to find, like I'm using the mesh, the traps are going to overlap with the mesh. So I click on my mesh for my character and I scroll down to collision settings. And mine is set to an object type of pawn, and I can set to block, world static, and world dynamic here. What you also want to do is you want to go back to whatever trap that you're wanting to tweak or double check. So let's start with the spinning blade trap. We open it up, and here it is. In the event graph, if you look at the event begin play, you can see what the default component that's being used for the damage, and I'm using the damage trigger. So if you look at the damage trigger, it's this red sphere here. So anytime a player touches that red sphere and is inside of it, it just starts dealing damage. So you want to double check the collision on it, especially if you've been adding your own meshes to your traps. Double check and make sure that the collision is set to query only, no physics collision. And you also want to make sure that the object type is world static or world dynamic, whatever you have it set to. You just want to make sure that your player it's not set to ignore a world static or not set to ignore world dynamic. And you also want to make sure that this damage trigger is set to overlap all, or in this case I set it to custom, and then just manually checked all of the buttons for overlap all. And our character, as I said, is a pawn object type. So if you look, it's set to overlap pawns here. So this and our character should overlap when it comes to collision. There shouldn't be any ignoring each other, and they should both collide fine, which I showed you at the beginning. You run into the trap and it kills you. So let's say, for example, you wanted to add something else, like a new blade or a new something sharp that'll kill players. I'll have the cube here, so I'll just use that for the sake of example. We'll just scale a cube like this, and then you want to double check and make sure that its collision settings, by default they're block all, but you want to set it to overlap all. And then in my case, I always just do this because since I have these custom channels, I like to just custom and then I'll do overlap all. And then in the event graph, you want to add a new pin and also plug in this cube so that way it will also deal damage. Now, you may think that we're done, but you can see how fast that's spinning. And if I stand in there, you can see, you may say, hey, I'm not receiving damage, even though that's clearly spinning and going right through my character. That's because it's spinning so fast that your character is actually being overlapped and then ending overlap faster than the damage interval down here. So you can click on your trap, or you can edit it in the actual variable here. Where is that? I believe it's an inherited variable. So you can go to this little eyeball and show inherited variables. And then there is a variable called damage interval. By default, it's 0.1. So you can change this either in this blueprint, or you can change it in your actual viewport just for this actual specific trap. Either one. If you change it in this, it'll change for all of the blueprints that this uses. If you change it here, it'll only edit this one, and you'll have to change it again every time you place another in your level. But basically, you want to change the trap damage interval here. So it's 0.1 second. Let's change it to like 0.01, which is really fast. That should give it enough time to deal the damage. Then we walk up here and it gets touched, and voila. It happened really fast. I'll do it again. So you can see I'm right on the edge, and then it hit me. So it's dealing damage, and it's colliding. So it's really just comes down to making sure that your whatever you want to deal damage on the trap, make sure that its collision settings are set to overlap, and also make sure that your character itself, the one that you're wanting to receive damage, is not ignoring. Like I believe if I were to set this to ignore world static and dynamic and then went into the game, it probably won't even damage me because oh, it still will. Okay. Well, it may be hitting some other component I have, such as one of these. You never know. Yeah, it's set to block. So it's probably hitting my capsule component as well. So you just have to double check your character, make sure that it's not ignoring anything, and double check your trap if you've been adding things and make sure it's not ignoring things. So like if let's say this custom blade is set to ignore pawn, and then I go into the level, you can see it's ignoring me because one checkbox is making it ignore me because we clicked on it and checked ignore. So it's just literally just some checkboxes, guys. It's not too difficult, and if you're plugging in more things such as more blades or whatever you need, you just plug it in there. And all the traps are similar. I mean, you can open up the swinging axe trap and look at it, and here's the event graph, same exact thing. You just plug it into your array here. By default I'm using the trap mesh, which is that, but you can plug in more if you want, or something different, whatever you want. And that's pretty much it. So I hope that helps out. It helps explain a little bit how you can tweak your collision on your character and your traps to make sure that they overlap. Tweak the damage interval if something's spinning really fast. Pretty much you would just tweak the damage interval for if you wanted to kill players faster, or if it's spinning really fast. So like this is spinning really fast, and it's going to deal 35 damage every 0.01 seconds that you're touching the blade. So you can always play with these two values until you get your traps dealing the amount of damage as fast as possible, or whatever you need. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope that helps. And if it don't, feel free to join my Discord, and I have support channels specifically for the traps pack and all my other products. So thanks for watching.